I believe in what Patrick's saying, but ultimately, I've read the Bible, so I know what's going to happen, and we could fight it for now, but eventually, it's going to be
what's going to happen.
Well, once again, there's going to be control where we can't fight back, which means I think it's the same. No, but it just means, for example, like in this scenario, this world, I want to say, conclusion is going to be $1, one government, one people, and if you go against the agenda, you're out. And then once again, I don't know if you believe in the Bible, but like Jesus comes back, Antichrist is here, and then. But once again, I take it as once again looking at it for what it really is, and I agree we should fight for now. But eventually, we can't fight anymore on some level.
Again, the weight of that argument. There's nothing you said I disagree with. Nothing. I'm a Christian man, so I'm with you there. But I also think about the conversation, let's just say with God, okay? And he's looking at you and I. I said, all right, so listen, if you do believe in God, at one point you were on your knees praying where life sucked. At least for me, I was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, listen, God, man, what do you want me to do? I'm ready. And then you make some drastic changes to your life, okay? Let's say you do that and you pray. And then he does what? He introduces to a person who introduces you to a person, life changes, you're in a better financial situation. And then imagine after he introduces to all these guys to you, if you believe in God, and then all of a sudden you're like, nah, man, I did it all myself. It wasn't God, it was all me. Okay? And you're like, nah, look, God is for weaker people. And then boom, there's another fall. They're like, but God. And God's like, look. So I think that argument you made is also the reason why many Christians are not fighting. Because they're just like saying, well, I mean, we all know what's going to happen at the end. We all know what's going to happen at the end. Do you know the exact date? No. What if that's 200 years from now? What if it's 100 years from now? What's 500 years from now? What if 50? What if it's 2 years from now? So it doesn't mean let's just sit and wait? No. I think we need to do our part to fight until that day comes. And we don't know what that date is. That should produce a sense of urgency in the people who have the ability to do so. Those who can, they should do the fight. If not, so many people will be on the sidelines saying, who cares? Can't do anything about it anyway.
Kind of like your election question. You know,
it's a very good argument. He's right.
I understand that.
I understand. There's a lot of people that relate to what he has to say. You're not alone in that argument.
No, but
it's almost like it was already written. It's already prescribed. Yeah. There's nothing what I can do. Why would I go vote? Why would I go try to do anything? Everything's already written out there for me. Everything's already figured out for me.
I'm convinced. Yeah. I'm convinced at this point. The more I'm thinking about this, Fresh is in love.
This guy, man.
As when you're in love, you look at life and like, what really matters more than love? You know, I just can't wait for this podcast to call my girl and go hang out and, you know, life changes.
Hey, baby. Hold on. I will say this. Your ideals and your speech today has put a light under my ass to say, you know what? Until that day comes, I should be putting in the work. Pause. But at the same time, it's like, you're right. I am right, but still, what am I doing right now in the moment?
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
But, you know, we don't have the one argument. There's so many things that people would say that I would never understand. I had to really figure this thing out. For example, you know, imagine, Myron, one day you are so rich that you don't have to work a single day for the rest of your life. And I would sit there and I would think about, I'm like, what a miserable life.
Yeah.
To not have to work. My dad is 81 years old. He was just in the hospital for 5 days. You know, no one needs to know this, but anyway, he's doing fine right now, but it was almost like done. My dad this last week, we had a big scare, but you know what he's already doing today? He's already working. He can't help himself, right? So these contradictions in life and confusing statements, I'll give you another one. So, first one we said was what? Hey, imagine if you have all the money in the world, you don't have to work for the rest of your life, right? Here's another one that's very annoying. You know how you should live life? What if today on your drive home, you get into an accident and you die? What would you do if you knew you had 30 minutes left? So let me get this straight for the people that give that message. So you mean to tell me you want to have me spend the rest of my life as if I'm going to die in the next 30 minutes? Because if I knew I'm going to die in the next 30 minutes, I'm not on this podcast tonight.
Right.
And neither are you.
Right.
We're elsewhere. You're hanging out with your mom and dad, with your family.
Yeah.
You know, you're with people that you love. Your new girl. Adam's probably out there, you know, doing what he's doing. But the point is, even that argument, yeah, it's a motivational video that goes viral. but it's confusing as shit for younger audience.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, hey, you shouldn't really give that much work because you should spend time with the people that you love. That's also a lightweight argument, because if I live that life, I'm just going to sit around and do nothing. I don't buy that either. I think, to me, you have to make a list of people in your life you don't want to disappoint. Okay. So who do people in your life you don't want to disappoint? For me, it's the man upstairs.
Yeah.
It's God. It's my 4 kids. It's my wife. And the people that are the most loyal to me, I don't want to disappoint those guys.
Right.
Okay. And quite frankly, a part of that on that list is the men and women who built America into the greatest country in the world, where I have the ability to live the dream life. I just don't want to disappoint these guys. Okay. Now, the selfish life is to say what? I don't give a shit if I disappoint these guys or not. They're not that important to me. No, I don't want to disappoint these guys. I want to come through for these guys. If you have that mindset, then you're living for that cause. I don't know why accidentally all your selfish dreams also become a reality. If I tell you my life right now, my life doesn't make sense right now. I can't even tell you my life right now. When I have the conversations, people that are calling me, people out of my house, every day I'm at my house, I'm like, sometimes I just sit there, I'm like, you know, it's crazy who's been at the house this last 2 weeks. Pretty wild who's been at the house the last 2 weeks. Do these guys know this guy had a 1.8 GPA in high school? Do these guys know I joined the Army at 18 because my plan was to go 20 years and I would have retired 6 years ago at 38 because I thought I can't ever make more money than $4,000 a month. I thought $4,000 was so much money. And when I was going to get out of the Army, I was going to be a cop. I'm big. I'm intimidating. I can be a cop. I can impose myself. I don't have a problem with that. And then I'm going to do that for 20 years, and I'm going to use my 20 years military, and I'm going to retire at 58 years old. What a dream. That's what I'm going to be. I bought into that dream.
Yeah.
Small thinking, fear-based. I'm a regular guy. And then all of a sudden, boom. Huh?
I did too.
You and I both. And look what you're doing today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, look how you're putting yourself out there. Look how much noise you're making. Look how much you're getting people to be thinking about different things. So I think the part is there's nothing wrong with pursuing your selfish desires. And I think you need to. But if you're by yourself in a car, you're sitting there saying, who do I not want to disappoint? Make a list of those people. I think that's going to produce a man's man who doesn't just live for himself. We were doing an index together. It's a good question for you. I'm curious to know what your answer will be with this one. So say we have 10 different types of people. Okay. I'm actually really curious to know, Myron, what you're going to say to this question here. So what is the best person's net positive to society? Okay. You have selfish, you have unselfish. Okay.
Or selfless, right?
Selfless, selfish. Okay. Somebody that lives for them and somebody that lives for others. Okay. Let's split it. Let's say somebody that's 100% selfish, 0% selfless. Okay. And then let's say somebody that's 100% selfless, 0% selfish. Okay. And then let's go 10-90, 20-80, 30-70. What is the right mixture of contributing to society where you're a net positive to society? You understand the question I'm asking, right?
I understand, yeah.
So for example, if you say, well, you know, it's to be 100% selfless and 0% selfish. Let's actually unpack that. If that's you, that means you smell. That means you don't take showers. That means you're tough to be around because you don't care about yourself. Everything's about other people. Yeah. You don't want to be clean. You probably have viruses. You probably are, because everything's about other people. You're a net negative to society. So as much as we want to say, wow, that's such a noble person, you're actually not. You're hurting the rest of us. If we go the other side, yeah, you know what? It's best to be 100% selfish, 0% selfless. Believe it or not, the 100% selfish is better to society than the 100% selfless, as crazy as it sounds. So then you go, well, it's good to be 50-50. But is it to be 50-50? No. So what do you think the number is? What do you think by the way, there's no right answer to this. This is just us talking about it.
Yeah, this is an open-ended question. Fresh, you want to take it first?
Yeah. So going off of like what I've done myself and what I've seen other people that are successful do and how it worked out for them. Look at Grant Cardone, right? He was selfish at the very beginning, but being selfish led to him impacting so many lives. So using that as an example of myself and other people, I would say selfish, let's say like 80%, selfish 20%.
That's interesting. What would you say, Myron?
I was literally going to say the same thing. 80% selfish, 20% selfless. And then because here's the thing, if you're selfish, right, up front, you'll be able to turn that down
and become more selfless as you acquire more resources, knowledge, and the ability to actually become more selfless because you can help people. Because you prop yourself up, right, by being selfish, you get to where you need to get to. And then once you're in that position of power, then you can start to slowly say, okay, I could start to be a little bit more of a humanitarian here. I can go ahead and start allocating some of these resources, wisdom, etc., to others, so I can start to become more selfless now. So then you could drop it down. I think you got to start off damn near 90-10, and then you can work your way down to an 80-20, 70-30.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
So you said earlier to sit down by yourself. Who do you want to not disappoint? And what does life mean to you? And I did that a couple months ago. I was sitting down saying, you know what? I'm having fun. I'm partying. I'm meeting people, doing fun stuff. But I'm not adding real value. I'm not actually being a man of means, right? Because obviously, you know, we're set up. We have real estate. We have good investments, whatever. But what else is there? And then I said, you know what? I'm being selfish to a point where I'm being just hedonistic. I got on a phone call with a friend of mine, AMS. He said, bro, you're off your purpose. What are you really doing? And then I said, you know what? What can I do right now to add value? And that's when I started the CEO Network. I said, you know what? I'm going to give back to people that support us, that want to be around us. And by default, this community that I created, bro, like we're doing so much big things just in less than 3 months. So I think just having that talk to yourself goes a long way.
Listen,
let me add to that.
You guys, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the list that you put together, your family, your friends, you almost talk about your legacy, your forefathers who brought you into this world. I think this is going to be a little selfish right now. I think the one person that you need to put at the top of that list is you.
Yourself.
I think no matter what, we're all sitting there. We have to look at each other in the mirror, yourself in the mirror every single day. Shout out to Chaz Palminteri. The saddest thing in life by far is wasted talent. We all have two different versions of ourselves. We all have the version who's just lazy and just not doing stuff and has limited beliefs and isn't getting shit done. And you have the other person that's waking up earlier in the day, putting the work in, becoming the best version of themselves. I mean, it's the essence of what you do on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think we all have that issue. I mean, the number one one of the main situations that's plaguing the United States right now is depression. How many people just look in the mirror are not happy with themselves? So this is a little bit selfish. One of the things that I'm breaking out of my shell is from Pat encouraging me. You need to be a leader. You need to have a family. You need to have kids. I'd be a great father. I want that in my life. But right now I've been very selfish, rightfully so. I'm on that 90-10 path, 80-20 path. No doubt, Myron. Yeah. But at some point, the selfishness needs to wane and being selfless needs to increase. And if you don't look in the mirror and you're not happy with yourself, you're not like, as much as you want to make other people happy, you can't make everybody happy if you're not happy yourself.
100%. Dude, this is a very good question.
I like this. I like this. I'm going to put this in the description for the people to see it. He showed me the net positive index NPI chart. And it goes here, when you're 100% selfish, it makes you a criminal psychopath, dangerous to society. When you're 90-10 selfish, in favor of selfish, you're a narcissist, world revolves around you. That's most modern day women. And then at the 80-20, you become a solopreneur, set an example of success, but bad at duplicating. And then at 70-30, it looks like you become a kingmaker and a driver. And then it looks like a synergist / great team at 60-40. Yeah. So it starts to become more and more positive.
The companies are ran by 70-30 guys.
Okay.
They're ran by 70-30, and then they're supported by 60-40 guys.
Very interesting. I'll put that chart down in the description for people.
Where do you think you're at this point in your life?
I'm a 70-30 guy. I'm a 70-30 guy. I start off as a 90-10 guy. I'm like, and then I'm like, and I went 80-20. I'm like, dude, nobody around me is winning. I was 25 years old. I'm like, hey, no. I'm not going to play this 80-20 game. Then I went 70-30. And 70-30, you have to bring people with you. You have to bring people with you. But you still have to drive. You have to be in a tough position to challenge everybody. You're going to be the guy that's going to be sometimes hated, disliked. You're raising the standards. You're expecting the people push a little more. That's not it. That's not the most people want to be number one, but they do not want to be number one. Yeah. They don't want what comes with the territory. But to go back to this on what we're talking about, listen, guys, what has Fresh and Fit done? You guys have helped a lot of young men, guys like yourself, guys like Tate, you got your show Saucecast. All of these different things is getting single men who feel they're alone and they're weak and they can't do anything and no one's talking to them, no one's flirting with them. You're giving them, you're empowering them, right, on what to do. Perfect. So then you have to know that value, is that a value that benefits a 16-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 28-year-old? Does it also benefit a 38-year-old, a 48-year-old, a 58-year-old? I don't know. So that's the part that we have to be thinking about, because eventually, like for me, okay, so your life is done with. I asked this guy the question. I said, Adam, you died today. What's your legacy? What are people saying at your funeral? Is it, dude, the guy was good with the ladies, dog? No one gives a shit.
Nobody. Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Dude, the guy was freaking good with money. No one gives a shit. The guy was so funny. Versus Siamak, my brother-in-law, his father died. So his father was a Walter Cronkite of Iran. His funeral, 2,500 people showed. I think they did 3 funerals.
Damn.
That's how big the helicopters, everything, riots, protesting, because he was a very big name man. He had one of the best voices in Iran. Alay Sabit Imani. So Siamak is there, so proud of him, walking around like a boss, taking care of his family. But he says, so many people came to me and told me the things that my dad did for them that I never knew about. He said, the most emotional thing for me was how many men came and said, do you really know who your dad was? Do you really know who your dad was? Do you really know who your dad was? He says, my dad never bragged about what he did for other people, but everybody kept coming. There's nothing like when I go around other men that have known my dad for a while and they tell me what my dad did for them. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. At the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. At your funeral, either they're going to say, this guy smashed so many, he made a lot of money, or freaking A, this guy changed our life. And especially so many that no one knows about. It's by far the best stories when people say things like that. So, I think it's important to realize that if we can lead from the 70-30 side, come down from the 90-10, the 80-20 to the 70-30 side, and you can kind of start seeing that, hey, I need to drive, but I also need to be looking at this way as well. And I need to kind of invest in things that outlive me. If you and I start looking at things that outlive us, life changes. I'll say this final thoughts, and I'll just kind of turn it over to you guys. Marriage is risky. Staying single is riskier. Having kids is risky. Being childless is riskier. Okay? Believing in God is risky. Not believing in God is riskier. Being part of a startup is risky. Taking the safe route is riskier. Making investment is risky. Not making any investments is riskier.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.